Hello, Sanbonani, and welcome to this Digital Financial Empowerment Roundtable. My name is Samke Mhlongo, and if you know anything about me, you know that I love all things finance and I love all things digital. With my background in banking and now being a digital entrepreneur, I am very passionate about ensuring that everyone, especially South Africans, and especially South Africa's women, are not left behind in the digital revolution. We are having a conversation today that is brought to you by Digify Africa, powered by Satrix, and we will be talking to various stakeholders in the investment and financial inclusion landscape about all things investing, about all things banking, about all things regulation, and about all things helping you to be financially smarter and to take control of your financial outcome. So without further ado, I want to get into the conversation with this beautiful panel of all ladies. I love to see it. Hello, ladies, and good morning to you. You look lovely today. You look like bosses. And at the end of this conversation, I want people to know that you are not just your titles or your roles, but that you are women in South Africa looking to make a difference and a change, right? Let's start with a statistic that is perhaps a little bit alarming and of concern. So if we look at the global Digi Index, it says that South Africa currently scores 65 out of 100, meaning that, yes, we rank above the global average in terms of digital investing. However, there's still room for us to unlock more participation, particularly among those who remain excluded. And we know who these are. These are people living in the rural areas. These are people who perhaps don't even have English as their first language. As we know, a lot of their investing material comes in only English. And these are people perhaps who even behaviorally are nervous, are scared, are like, yes, I will download that EasyEquities app, but I'm not going to check it. You know, maybe I saw a tweet, or maybe I saw a post, or maybe a friend said they use it, or maybe I will check Satrix updates, but then what do I do with that big corporate announcement once I've read it, right? And so we're here to ensure that this conversation will look at, you know, innovation, regulation, education, as I've said, and to shape the future of finance. So looking at that background, I want to start with Digify Africa, first of all. And perhaps you can talk to us a little bit about what it is that you do as Digify Africa and why this conversation in particular is important for you.
Thank you, Samke. I am Anitta, and I'm the content manager at Digify Africa. So what we do is exactly try to bridge that gap in that huge number and that statistic. We have leveraged the power of WhatsApp learning to make accessible content, or to make content accessible, rather. Not only do we have a digital divide, but we also have an educational issue in the country. And access to education continues to be one of those ongoing issues. So what we're on the cusp of is ensuring that we bridge both that digital divide gap, and we also solve the educational challenge, and ensuring access to information.
I love that, and using WhatsApp, a platform that most South Africans use, is actually quite genius, because we know that if you look at our mobile penetration rates, you know, statistics show that more than 9 out of 10 adults access or have access to a mobile phone, one of the highest rates in Africa. But when we look at financial literacy, actually around only 4 in 10 are considered financially literate. And I want to come to you here, Nicola from EasyEquities, because you are quite visible, quite vocal about educating South Africans on investing. And the question for you, I think I would want to ask is, first of all, how do you define financial literacy? What is financial literacy? Because is it understanding what an interest rate is? Is it participating, saving and investing and trading myself? So what would you say financial literacy is from your perspective?
Thank you so much. It's really lovely to be here with you today. And I think the first thing to start off with is when we're talking about financial literacy, for me, the main thing in terms of what we're trying to achieve at EasyEquities is actually how you build and protect your wealth. So for me, that is, if I have to conclude in sort of one sentence, what financial literacy is, because it can mean a lot of different things to different people. But the end of the the end of the day, you really just want to make sure, how do you better yourself in terms of your current circumstances? How do you understand what are the things you can do in terms of your current context of wealth creation and wealth protection And it's two of those are very important to walk hand in hand. And I think I just want to add to that stat of yours. So I used to work at the JSE for many years and been with EasyEquities the last 3 years. And looking at the statistics of how many people directly own shares in the market, we did a rough number, and it's not a perfect calculation while I was still there. And that was like in the tweens. I mean, maybe 5-6% of people investing directly in markets. And that's what we're trying to change at EasyEquities, at Satrix, and at other digital platforms. We want to get people to own the shares, own the markets, because no one's ever washed a rental car. You will only take ownership when it's your shares, your car.
I love that, and it's so true. And I love that you mentioned the JSE, because when we talk about creating wealth and protecting your wealth, we know that one of the, well, I guess one can't say surest, because, you know, it is the stock market after all, but it is more protected, it is more regulated. It certainly is better than falling for some of these get-rich-quick schemes like Forex scammers, and we've seen a lot of that recently. But when we talk the JSE, perhaps I can come to you and talk about what are some of the initiatives that the JSE is taking to ensure that there is broader access in terms of investing, in terms of even knowing where to start, right? Because it's one thing to want to invest. The behavior is there. We've seen it, because you have Triple M, you have all these various schemes come up, and South Africans participate. So attitudinally and behaviorally, the data shows us that South Africans do want to save, but they want to make money, and they want to make money fast. So how, as the JSE, are you saying, all right, we don't want to sell you a dream, but we want to say if you are patient and if you invest regularly, then you can in your lifetime create wealth for yourself?
Good morning. It's lovely to be here. So when you talk about financial literacy, there's never enough education. There's always room for more. And the JSE recognizes that when you impart that knowledge to a woman or to a family, you know that it transcends generations.
Yeah.
You know, educating the mother, specifically if you look at another stat, 40% of households are headed by women only. They make the investment decision, often if there's an opportunity to make an investment decision. But ultimately, they make the purchase decision in the home. Now, if you empower the female, the mom, or all the women in the room, I would say, and you extend that information and that knowledge to their children, that's another generation, and it carries on that way. So we recognize that by educating the family, particularly women as well, and we do that through initiatives like She Invests, which is our inaugural event. Well, not inaugural, it's no longer
annual.
An annual
I've attended
event.
one phenomenal
8
day.
years ago, it was inaugural. Can
Yeah.
you believe it? We have a She Invests event, and this year it's actually at the Sandton Convention Center.
It's bigger.
So much bigger. So we recognize the impact of having a wider footprint for these types of events. And again, at this type of event, we envisage that there will be an opportunity to share information about investing, basic, I would guess, terminology, you could argue, an opportunity for people to engage with entrepreneurs within the space as well. So it's so much broader than just financial, it's also lifestyle.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one way of looking at it, that finances should be part of lifestyle, you know, because it's an everyday kind of transaction that you participate in. So She Invests is one of our key events that we host every year. In addition to that, we've got the Investment Challenge. Again, another opportunity to learn about investing, to learn about trading and how the market operates, certain events that might happen in the economy. How does that translate to your portfolio then? What happens to the shares that you might have within your virtual portfolio? And that Investment Challenge, which includes the University Challenge and the Schools Challenge, is now over 50 years old now.
Over 50 years old?
Over 50 years old.
I didn't even know the JSE is 50 years old.
The JSE is 138 years old. So, you know, these types of educational events, we really take a lot of pride in them because we think they are impactful and they have a lasting imprint on people that engage with the market, and that's what we try and do. We try and have collaborative kind of events that is not just the JSE only, but it's the entire value chain, if we can, to have individuals, women, men all walks of life.
Yeah.
Talk to these players.
And collaboration is the word, because I know Satrix is definitely very collaborative, not only in the She Invests Summit conference.
Call it what you want. It's a big gathering.
And even today, as Satrix, Fikile representing Satrix, you have come on board to power this roundtable that we're having. And I want to talk to you a little bit about why it's so important for you as Satrix to be involved in other initiatives and not just be satisfied with this is what we do as Satrix and that's enough. Like, it seems as if, where there is anything to be said around financial initiatives stepping outside the norm. I mean, the She Invests was held at the JSE last time I was there, and just having people be excited to come into the JSE, because when else are you going to walk into those buildings, right? So why is it so important for you as Satrix?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here, and it's lovely that we are powering this initiative. Satrix is an asset management firm, as you all know, and I think as an asset management firm, we promote access to low-cost products. So what does that mean? That means that we want to make a difference, and we want to make sure that everybody can access the market at a low cost. And we found that, obviously, the level of financial literacy is not as high as we'd like it to be. And so I think it's very important that we promote financial inclusion. And by doing that, we work and collaborate with other partners, such as Digify, where you can use the digital platform and education to promote financial literacy and access to investments. We work across the entire ecosystem. We work with the JSE. Well done on the She Invest. Looking forward to working with you and to being there and supporting you at the upcoming one. We also do a lot of various initiatives. We are on the media, because we believe that we need to be out there to promote financial literacy in order to create financial inclusion.
I love that. And it's so exciting to hear how big organizations are still considering that even low-income individuals should be able to invest, that there should be low entry points, right, and not high barriers to entry. But Karabo, when we talk barriers to entry, I'm going to look at from the side of people who look to form saving schemes or who look to form vehicles in which some people can invest. And a lot of people will say, South Africa is over-regulated, the system doesn't want us to participate, the Financial Sector Conduct Authority is blocking other investments, they only want the JSEs and the Satrixes to be the ones that can take investments. So Karabo, dispel for us all these myths once and for all. I'm giving you the platform to say, guys, this is who we are, this is what we do, and actually we are for South Africans and we are trying to create an environment that does what?
Thank you so much for that, Samke. I hope that I'll be able to answer this question well, but my work is in the consumer education department, and part of our mandate is to ensure that people have access to the financial literacy that they need in order to make the right financial decisions for their lives.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the barriers to entry, the most important thing, or one of the most important things for the FSCA is to make sure that we balance innovation with regulation. So it is important that all organizations that do seek to be, a part of the financial sector are able to show that they have consumer protection and market integrity as some of the top priorities for the way that they work. So it is important that entities that do want to be in the financial sector are transparent, do take care of the consumers that they that they target. So they do need to make sure that they protect consumers and and that they are transparent, like in the work that they do. And the FSCA does not seek to be like a gatekeeper. We do want to work with the financial sector. We do want to work with people who are entrepreneurial to make sure that they can reach the audiences that they want to reach. But consumer education and the stability of the financial system is very, very important. So, yeah.
You mentioned innovation, and I want to talk a little bit about how your draft conduct standard for financial education actually supports innovation, because one can look at examples, for instance, where you've got crypto investing that has come up now, and you've got a number of platforms that have been shut down by the FSCA, and then people will say, you see, it doesn't support innovation. How are we supposed to take part and participate in the digital revolution when the regulator is always holding us back? So what do you say to that?
All right, so under Section 57 of the FSR Act, the FSCA is mandated to provide clear and accessible financial education. So we try to make sure that this happens through our published financial education plan, where we are transparent about the consumer education initiatives that we take part in. The conduct standards are trying to encourage the same level of transparency from financial institutions, where we are encouraging them to move past the the generic one-size-fits-all consumer education. We are asking them to use research-backed insights in order to create and to deliver financial education that is tailored to the needs of the consumers without having a marketing spin to it. Because we have seen in the past that there are some financial there are some financial institutions who say, no, this is financial education, but if you look closely, it's more like window-dressed marketing. So we are encouraging them to move away from that and to focus on the needs of the consumer and to be transparent in the messaging that they would like to share with the consumer. We also do encourage monitoring and evaluation to make sure that financial institutions do track their impact and also refine their consumer education to meet the needs of the consumer. So yeah.
Look,
I want to be a bit controversial, Samke.
Please, I was going to be controversial because that answer was so vanilla and so clean. I was like, So go ahead, Nicola.
So I want to do two things. The first thing is I want to give the FSCA a compliment, though.
Okay.
And Karabo's not from that team, but I mean, looking at the licensing and the supervision team, EasyEquities is 10 years old. We spoke about age a little bit earlier. The FSCA gave us that opportunity. It was very controversial for EasyEquities to come into the marketplace. There wasn't any clarity around which regulations will regulate us. We designed something new. We patented the concept of a fractional share.
Correct.
And the FSRs is something we legally came up with the terminology, designed it with lawyers, and went to the FSCA and knocked on their doors and said, guys, we need to find some regulatory framework for you to put us in. We are here. We want a box to be put in. And the FSCA had lots of discussions, and why I wanted to be controversial, and Adèle, this is not personally at you, but I was still working at the JSE at that point in time, and the JSE had fundamental challenges with that, was not comfortable with that, because it was creating something that's not in the Financial Markets Act. Fractional shares are still not in the Financial Markets Act. And so there were lots of legal debates in the industry between the FSCA, the JSE, EasyEquities team. And for me, that type of friction is critical to unlock innovation and growth. So the more we are comfortable being uncomfortable, so having been at a fintech for 3 years, that's my standard line, be comfortable being uncomfortable. And that's the same thing of investing, because that's what we see with our EasyEquities clients, to bring it back to that. We've got over 2.5 million clients that have registered. But it's that fear of taking the first step, of just getting into the market, taking a risk. So for me, it's just be in the market, don't time the market. But I think also for us as industry players, don't skirt away from those challenging conversations. Take the bulls by the horn, and how do we innovate? Knock on that door, don't take no for an answer.
Look, I love what you said, and I want to step into the shoes now of not so much the investor, but that entrepreneur that has that innovative solution, that has that next fintech idea that they want backed. And what you spoke about in how you engaged with the FSCA and with the JSE is really akin to lobbying. And coming up with new frameworks takes money and takes time. And time is money. If you're going to go back and forth on a legal basis with such large institutions and a regulatory body, you need to have deep coffers. And my question then becomes, as much as this friction is useful in unlocking innovation and ensuring that that innovation lives in a landscape that is safe for investors to participate in, it also does present a barrier to that person sitting with this idea who does not have the millions for the legal representation they need to be able to open the minds or put forward a new sandbox or a new category in which that innovation can exist and sit. So what do we say to that person then? And this is for anyone. I'm putting this on the table as a discussion point for anyone to answer.
All right, so I'm going to speak from the FSCA's perspective, right? And I think it's really important for entrepreneurs and innovators to reach out to the regulator with regards to, the help that they need in order to make sure that they are compliant enough in order to be licensed, right? It is important to reach out to the regulator and to get the help that you need. You mentioned the crypto assets, right? Yeah. There were entities that were not compliant, but who were willing to work with the FSCA in order to make sure that all their boxes were ticked in order to be licensed. So we're not trying to, close down the ways to, enter into the financial industry. We are looking to work with, the small entities that do want to be licensed and that do want to be compliant. So, don't be scared. You can reach out to the FSCA, yeah.
Nicola, I think you wanted to say something as well, and then I'm gonna let my other panelists also.
Sure, I'm happy to add. I think the one thing for me is collaboration and partnerships, because you're 100% right. As a fintech and as a startup business, we were there. We were in the trenches right at the start. I can tell you when the business started, or just look 10 years ago, we were 30 staff members, a couple of thousand of investors, a couple of million of rand. That's small in the bigger scheme of things. We had to have partners that would walk the journey with us, that believes in financial inclusion, that wanted to achieve that. One of them is sitting right here next to me. Right. And Satrix took a chance on EasyEquities and gave them that opportunity. Satrix, now part of a larger group, Sanlam Group, you need support. You need an ecosystem that will unlock. I want to throw another name in the mix. Old Mutual is doing wonderful work with startup businesses. There are so many. And for me, in a fintech startup world, F&B, there's a lady there that also does amazing work with startup businesses. For me, it's about creating that ecosystem that can just support and flourish and increase the size of the pie. Because having been in a fintech group for the last 3 years, you can see those startup businesses. It's a very tough journey. It's a very lonely journey. We sit in WeWork, in the co-working space in Rosebank. You bump into a lot of those guys that are startup entrepreneurs. And the key thing and the advice and support from my side is just build that support structure around you. Find those like-minded individuals that are willing to invest in your business now. And no, like EasyEquities, it took us 5, 6, 7 years to become profitable. But we had backers, we had support. We've now got other supporters like Capitec. We're partnering with Discovery Bank. So grow the size of the pie, collaborate to innovate.
I just wanted to add that I think for us as a business, meeting with like-minded people is important. And I think as we collaborate, we need to understand that we collaborate for the end user. You know, what are our interests in making sure that we make a difference with the end user? How do we make sure that the end user can access investments? How do we make sure that the investments are at a low cost? And how do we make sure that the end user achieves his or her goals, whether it's saving for a wedding, whether it's building a house, or really creating wealth for themselves? And I think once we do that, once we're able to have that thread that pulls through, that thread of making a difference, then it's a lot more easier. And, you know, with my understanding, we worked with EasyEquities. We met in 2015, and I think it's made such a huge difference to the communities, to the market, in terms of accessing investments at a low cost.
I want to pick up on that difference that you're talking about, and that actually being at the heart and the core of any exercise, initiative, product, solution that one puts together. And I want to talk about the user now, back into the shoes of the user, because if we talk tech startups, we could be here all day, another passion of mine. But I want to go back to the user, and I want to talk about building trust, right? About adoption. We're going to go to the stat about your 2.5 million users, EasyEquities, and find out how many of them are actually active. But for you, Anitta, from Digify, I want to talk about what is some of the impact that your WhatsApp learning channel has been able to make in the community, and what are some of the adoption patterns and behaviors have you seen with your solution?
It's definitely that gap, bridging that gap to access. I think the numbers that we're constantly seeing that are growing on our platform in terms of people accessing the information, working through the course that we have around financial literacy, we've seen that there is definitely a growth and a need. And also just getting the feedback that we usually get around the content, its relevance, you know, the impact that it has definitely encouraged the way that we go about it. I don't have the literal numbers on hand, but what I do know is that we're continuing to grow, and where we do find gaps, and I guess it comes back to the behavioral comment that you made earlier on. So in how we produce our content, we very much dig into who our target audiences are and ensuring that we're delivering the content in a way that's suitable for them, in a way that's relevant for them, and how they can kind of use these case studies in their real lives. So what we're implementing now going forward in terms of looking at how the content, you know, the different topics hit, is really adding in the scorings at the end of each topic to say, okay, how did you find this topic? Did you find it relevant? Did you find the language useful? So we're constantly, we're also a startup, and we're constantly trying to, you know, expand our reach, expand and refine our approach to content, refine how we understand our target audiences. But one thing we are definitely proud of is the accessibility and just the numbers that we're constantly seeing on our platform. It's been really, really encouraging.
Can I ask you a question? We struggle with the cost of WhatsApp business. How are you experiencing that as a barrier?
As a business, that's what we do. So I think more than anything, from the conversations we've had, like with our CEO, we've kind of found ways to manage that cost. There are innovative ways, and that would be giving away our trade secrets, which we would do. There are innovative ways that we're going about it, but again, it's really about what Fikile said, the impact that we're trying to have, and we're seeing it on a daily basis. So we're able to manage our costs through partnerships like Satrix as well. So it's really, it's been...
Another example of some of the barriers one encounters as a startup trying to make connections. It's our IP. But let's talk to the JSE. I want to come to you, Adèle, and talk a little bit about some of the changing patterns that you're seeing from investors, behaviorally, from an adoption point of view of the JSE. What's the current landscape of the typical investor in the JSE, and are you actually changing the face of the JSE to be more representative of the South African demographic?
So look, I think for all of our businesses, we're seeing that the mediums that the consumer is using to engage and to learn has changed, right? So moving from, I would guess you would call it analog, face-to-face engagements, you have physical interactions. Those are coming down, dwindling, with the exception, obviously, of a few in-person events that the JSE also still hosts, and we still recognize the value in that. But we also understand that the user or the consumer, the investor, also wants different channels to use in engaging with the source of the information. So, what we've done is, apart from the fact that, we've got our investment challenge and we've enabled an app to use that to engage in the investment challenge.
There's an app?
Then we can register on the app and then you can transact. Apart from that, we're also looking at podcasts. So we recognize that there's an audio element to it as well.
JSE podcast. Yes, I've seen that on social media.
So our JSE Investor Avenue is what we've coined it as, and that's also another great channel that investors can utilize in getting information about the markets, understanding, say, particular products, or even just the psychology of investing, behavioral investing attached to that. So we recognize that, we need to enable different forms of engagement, different forms of media, the podcast, digital interaction on our website. And that's not going to change, I think, anytime soon. I think it's just going to amplify going forward. I think the biggest challenge is, again, we spoke a little bit about the data costs associated in how do I interact with the JSE if I don't have any data on my phone? How do I do that? And I think it's a challenge for probably everyone around the Roundtable. How do you make it accessible? And we're also looking at things like that. Do we engage with the mobile networks, as an example? Do we allow for zero-rated data engagements to, again, remove a barrier, which we also spoke about? Because there's no point in having information there, but there's a wall and no one can access it.
Ladies, I'm going to put on my capitalist hat as a former banker, and I am going to put on the table a reality which is, if we look at Satrix, EasyEquities, Digify, the JSE, these are companies with shareholders, right, that they are accountable to. Shareholders want profits. Shareholders want dividends. Shareholders want share growth. And now you've got a social issue, which is, we need to make sure that we are inclusive and that, even people without data can access our education. Then you've got me sitting as a shareholder saying, how's this my problem? Is this your core business function? Or is your core to actually deliver on the products and services that you have said to a willing and able market? Those that are not willing and able, sorry for you, market dynamics. So playing devil's advocate again and being that shareholder, how do you balance the responsibility of being a commercial for-profit entity and that pulling at the heartstrings that says that you actually operate in South Africa, which is a highly unequal society. And we know that as a responsible corporate citizen, you need to understand and respond to the dynamics of the environment you find yourself in. I'm going to take a step back, and I'm going to let anyone who so chooses to answer that question.
I'll start. For me, it's an easy question to answer, because if you don't break down the barriers, who are you going to sell these products to? And so it's very key that as you grow as a business, as you make profit as a business, you problem solve. And you problem solve by breaking down barriers. Satrix is about indexation investing, is about low costs, providing low-cost solutions in terms of our products to the man on the street. How do we access that man on the street? Well, we have to, in the short term, think about how we break down those barriers. How do we collaborate with Digify, the JSE, and EasyEquities to make sure that we can access that market and make a difference over the long term?
Okay, so as a shareholder, I'm hearing you say to me, listen, the environment we play in, there's a huge chunk of your potential customers sitting on the other side of this barrier. Okay.
Yeah,
Nicola?
so I wanted to add to that. It's about the business case.
Right.
The key thing is there actually is a business case. And if you look at the demographics of our country, and not just South Africa, the African continent,
Right.
the future investor of the world between Africa and Asia, is pretty much covered. So I'm sorry about the US and the European markets, but the reality is if you do a proper statistical analysis, because I'm a CFA charter holder, so it's all about investment analysis, you do your business case, you do scenario planning and futures thinking, you do the calculation. If you're not in that market, you're not a sustainable business, to Fikile's point. You actually haven't built your pipeline. You're not relevant to your local client base of the future. So yes, to some extent, businesses have to survive, like you said, with our current client base. So you do talk to that client base. But for us as a fintech startup group, we purely set up our business with 100% faith and belief in the future client.
Right.
We didn't set up our business for the existing client. We didn't come in and want to compete with all the other traditional financial services providers. We wanted to play in a space that no one else was playing in. We had no minimums. We had fractional shares. We had completely different elements, very much social media driven, very much digital, very much online, very much linked to data. We're still trying to get the JSE convinced to not charge us for data for our retail investors. But the reality is your shareholders need to believe in the future business case. And you also have to diversify. So you would know that as a proper entrepreneur. You can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
So one of the businesses we did build in the group, so we're a group, many people know us as EasyEquities, but we're Purple Group JSE listed since 98. So we're not 138 years old. We're just under 30 years old, about 27. But another business we built was an Easy Retire proposition, which is for retirement funds, pension funds. So you were asking earlier about the number of investors, 2.5 million registered users. Many of those are mine workers, cleaners, etc. We are accessing, giving them access to markets. And yes, they don't necessarily log in once a year into their app.
Yeah.
But we are going out, we are doing road shows, field trips, and exposing them to this digital world.
Yeah.
And we are changing one engagement at a time.
Yeah, and it also takes time to change behavior. It takes time to change attitudes. It takes time to build confidence, you know, because a lot of it is a confidence barrier, not just a trust barrier with the platform, right? Yes, Anitta.
I guess that's the beauty of us being in the social entrepreneurship space, is that fundamentally what we do is access to education, and that will continue to remain a huge problem on the continent, not just in finance, but in other areas as well. So, and knowing that like we are a mobile first continent in any case, that presents a whole lot of opportunities for us. And the beauty of being in the edtech space is that we're continuously evolving our product. So again, to echo what Nicola said, you're building for the now and trying to live in the now through the collaborations and the partnerships, but it's not to say that we're not planning ahead. It's not to say that we're not thinking of how do you evolve this product? How do you expand your reach to other areas in the continent? What exists out there for us? Is it, are we going to move towards more localized education? What does AI do within our space? So we're constantly working and planning and thinking ahead while building for the now. And I think it's really an exciting time to be in the education space on this continent. The possibilities are really endless.
Karabo, from the regulator, how are you preparing yourself for the businesses of tomorrow? Because we know that all businesses actually, they need to make profits today, but they need to plan and build pipe for the business of tomorrow. So how are you as the regulator, you know, even ensuring that you've got the right skills, right, within the regulator to be able to respond to these changing innovations?
So it is very important for the FSCA to be a responsive and a future-ready organization that is able to preempt risks to consumer protection and not merely respond to those risks. So we have been working really hard in making sure that we streamline our internal processes to monitor and to supervise our regulated entities efficiently. It is also very important for us to invest in the digital tools that we need in order to be a future ready entity. So we are definitely working really hard to make sure that we are an efficient and responsive regulator.
Yeah. Talking about the future, let's get back to today and talk about investor behavior, all right? I know in my days as a financial wellness consultant, don't worry guys, I've had many, many careers in this one lifetime, thanks to me getting bored quickly, but also me always wanting to see what's relevant and balancing, being relevant with, the future security of my career. So from banking, I went into financial wellness consulting. And we used to do training around the country. This was very analog. This was very, we need to fly you to this branch to teach these employees. And the success we got is because we gamified our training, our workshops, and we understood that if you are going to talk to people who are either in financial distress or who aren't, default savers and investors, you need to match that delayed gratification with an instant reward. So we used to give 500 Rand each to members of the winning team. So we gamified it by having teams, and then they each win 500 Rand. We went from having like 30% take-up, sign-up rate for our financial wellness to being oversubscribed and having to do even repeat trainings in some of the branches. And where I'm going with this is the understanding of balancing delayed gratification with instant reward of investors. I want us to now talk attitudes. And I'll come to you first, Adèle. Within the JSE, how are you, not from an inclusion point of view, not just looking at language, data, access to the platform, but now looking at how do we meet people where they are in terms of their psychology? So the psychology of investing that says, if I'm investing on the JSE, I need to look like I'm investing on the JSE. You understand? Meaning there needs to be a designer bag somewhere. There must be a nice car. So when people ask and be like, yeah, I have shares. So how do you balance that? Because we know it takes time.
Absolutely. So if you think about the JSE, you could argue that there's an investment route, which is slow and steady and responsible. And then you've got the trading side as well, right? You have sort of your day trader mentality of in and out, quickly trading, making quick profits. So as an exchange, we welcome both. Obviously, our business relies on transactions on the exchange. But we recognize from an investor perspective, being, again, the responsible side of things, if you want to learn about having a very specific objective in mind, investing does require patience and discipline. And I also understand the consumer, again, with the generations as they change, there is an element of instant gratification. Fully understand that. And quick sound bites and keeping the user engaged for 2 minutes. Longer than 2 minutes is too long, actually. And we recognize that. So we've also been looking at adjusting our educational content in such a way that might be more customized for the investor. So we're also exploring how do we incorporate things like AI into our educational side of things, that it almost meets the investor where they are. So you almost go into, I don't know how you would view this or how I could explain this, but ultimately whittling down the content for the investor specifically to what they currently know and probably where they want to be in the future. So that's something that we're exploring at the moment. Again, recognizing the incredible power that AI holds, and how do we incorporate that into our educational side of things. In addition to our entire social media footprint that we're also working very hard on, recognizing that, you've still got the consumer or the investor that wants access to information on a traditional, I guess you could call social media traditional now. It's traditional now.
It's now traditional, yes.
Traditional used to be the newspaper.
Correct, and they're shutting down everywhere.
Unfortunately. So, we recognizing that we also need to change as the consumer changes and as generations evolve. And it's a tricky environment, I think, for any business. To Nicola's point, how do you focus on the investor that will be, but putting the bricks in place today?
Digify, how do you make it exciting? Because, hey, you're going to talk to me about saving and investment. No, my friend Ntswaki from down the street said she bought these products And if I buy them at a discount, I can sell them and make $200. So that's actually where I'm going to take my money. You know, multi-level marketing. There's so much competition for responsible investing. There's so much competition for traditional investing. So how do you sit me down and keep my attention?
Empathy. So
Empathy.
we understand that this is the context that you are making your investment decisions in. It is within that space where stokvels and Ntswaki said saving stokvels have become another vehicle of investment, you know, in the people that we are at least creating this content for.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that. So we don't completely shut that out. We acknowledge it and we bring that story into how we weave about your educational or financial education. So it's exactly that. It's that empathy and really understanding who it is we're talking to and the nuances of the spaces that they're in. And how do we take your story and add in this financial education or these elements to investing and saving and doing it in a way that's safe within your environment. So it's that. The first thing is empathy. The other is you have to engage with the platform, right? I mean, you're learning. So how do we make your learning exciting? How do we make you want to continue learning? It's through that storytelling. We spoke about instant gratification.
Yeah.
The reward, that intrinsic reward that you get when you've completed something,
And you
we
can score
capitalize.
yourself.
Yes, we
Yes.
capitalize on that as well. So we recognize that money is a sensitive issue. Over and above it being there's jargon and it's this daunting thing, but it is a sensitive one. So we acknowledge that, and then we say, okay, well, if you've completed topic 1, then it means that you could do topic 2, and you could do topic 3. And can you see where you started? The baseline that Adèle spoke about is where we start our learning. This is what you know. It's not all doom and gloom. You're not
Is there
clueless.
a leaderboard?
Yes, we had one. We are working on gamifying the experience as well so that you engage with the learning and it's not just information being fed to you, but you're actually taking ownership of your goals, of your learning goals. So there's a lot that goes into it, but the heart of it is really the empathy, the research behind really knowing who we're speaking to, what makes them tick, what is important to them, what matters to them, what doesn't, how do they learn, how do they move through information? How do they consume that information? How do we tailor how we deliver the information to work with how you're learning? So it's a mixture of things. But yes, at the heart of it is really just being empathetic towards who we're creating for.
Can I just add, I love the empathy bit because you meet the consumers where they are. But I think it's also quite important that, when you look at instant gratification, actually investments, it's completely the opposite. Investment is really about compounding interest, I think at Satrix, we like to preach that quite a lot, the power of compounding interest, where you earn interest on top of the current interest. For example, if I look at our platform, Satrix now, in 2015, the average amount for the investor was at 10,000. Fast forward to 2025, that's sitting at 144,000.
What?
So compounding interest, patience, consistency, and long-term investing can be quite rewarding.
Fikile. I must be patient till when? I want to show people on Instagram now that I've got shares.
It's not even about only having one share. It's about having a basket of shares, because ETFs are about diversification. So if one share were to fall apart or collapse, you still have exposure to the other shares. So I think, in my mind, investing is safe because over the long term, you will see the gain, right? But I think sometimes with gambling and instant gratification, you may win, you may not win. And you have to take the chance that you may not succeed. But with long-term investing, for sure, over the long term, with compounding interest, definitely you will get returns on your investments and your value will grow. But you just have to be patient. And I think that's the mindset that we need to change on this platform.
I see you're not getting the answers you want, so I'm going to give you my
I'm
perspective.
wearing my Instagram hat, and Fikile is saying I must be patient, but I'm seeing the other girls are traveling, they're unboxing Louis Vuittons every 3 months, so does God not see me?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, respond, Fikile.
But you know, that's the thing. I think focus on your long-term goal. Forget about what everybody else is doing. Plan. What are your goals? What do I need to contribute? And how do I get there? It's a journey.
But here's the thing, Fikile, when I'm seeing other people living now, it makes me question, what am I doing wrong?
But you don't know what the other people... Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Fikile,
talk to
please.
me.
Please go ahead.
Yes, I'm just saying that you don't know what the other people are doing and where they're getting this money from. Maybe they are busy doing with other things, you know. So
And that is the truth.
And I want to add on to what Fikile is saying, and maybe we need to look at what is their credit card statement looking like.
Or girlfriend allowance.
Oh, okay. I don't think
I
that's
heard
not
you were
long
going in that
term.
direction.
Yes, no, and listen, if we're going to talk about it, let's talk about it, you know? And that's the thing, though, because also as traditional investment platforms, safe investment platforms, you are competing with an aesthetic that has very many hidden costs.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about fees and commissions, okay? I'm talking about very many hidden costs, and it's a societal pandemic. Karabo, please, come through, regulator. Talk to us.
are you going to regulate the market?
You need to regulate that market. Somebody needs to be taxing that girlfriend allowance.
Do us a favor. Oh my goodness.
We need declarations galore, because our youth is being misled. And I am youth.
Is true.
Bring us back to sanity.
I think at the heart of everything that we are saying to this point is that we need to teach people about the most basic financial concepts from a very young age. If we are able to plant the seed of financial literacy in like people who are as young as maybe like 6 or 7, when they grow up, they are able to know and understand at the most like fundamental level how money works and why it is important to be patient when it comes to your investments. That way, it becomes much harder for them to then fall into the traps, like of the scams and the, like you get rich quick schemes, because from a very young age, they know this is how money works at its most, like fundamental level.
And
For
therefore,
example,
this doesn't
yes.
make sense.
Exactly. For example, at the FSCA, we have the Great R Financial Literacy Speech Festival, where we partner with educators to teach Grade R learners about age-appropriate financial concepts. And then as they grow up, they have that seed of financial literacy that is planted in them. They are able to then seek information from the right sources. They know what the truth is when it comes to financial management. And then they are able to then, impart that knowledge with their loved ones as well. So it starts from a very young age. So that's also what we do need to, focus on. Yeah.
Can I give you a practical example? Because I want to bring the two worlds together. Because I completely agree with you. Gamification, like Adèle said, you got to meet the user where they are.
Yeah.
My kids are massive on gamification. So they are online game players. They want V-Bucks all the time. And I'm saying, guys, you want a lot more than V-Bucks. You want those soccer balls. You want those Nike shoes, da-da-da-da-da. So I made a deal with them, and I said, you get your monthly allowance, and I'll be open, transparent, radical transparency, $300 each.
Yeah.
And I said to them, guys, you can take that and you can buy your V-Bucks, thousands of V-Bucks for those that know, or you put it in your EasyEquities and we'll buy some Satrix 40 or S&P 500 shares and I will double it for you. So I've created the gamification concept in my home.
Yeah.
They've taken it to the next level. They are so competitive. And I don't know if it's just a boys thing.
Yeah.
I've got 3 boys, so you're talking to ages 8, 10, 12. They now take their birthday money. My son's just recently turned 10. 80%, so he did take his 20% and he bought his V-Bucks. 80% of the money he's got for a present, he's putting in EasyEquities.
Right.
So they've become so competitive amongst themselves.
Yeah.
So that's one practical example. But what I want to say as well in terms of how EasyEquities was born out of a game.
Yeah.
We launched a trading game in South Africa.
Yeah.
And we said to people, try and rather, if you're going to play a game and if you want to throw money at it and try and win, throw money at shares.
Yeah.
Throw money at something that's real. And when we talk about user journeying, so we've launched, we're in the sandbox in the Philippines.
Right.
And we are talking there to Southeast Asian investors, and they want the handbag or the fancy this, but you're saying to them the journey you can own, but do you own the company that produces that handbag?
Right.
We all buy Woolies. Do you own shares in the company where you buy your groceries? So it's about having that conversation and making it hip and happening to actually own shares of that fancy Louis Vuitton. We've got those on EasyEquities.
Yeah.
And so we build those journeys, and gamification is part of it. It's very important. One of the other things, a statistic, about 62% of our clients are user referrals.
Okay.
And we've made it a gamification concept. So the more you refer, the higher thrive level you get to, the less brokerage fees you pay us.
Right.
So that's one example. There are other things they can complete, like you spoke earlier. We've got EasyEquities Academy. The more training courses they complete, the higher thrive level they go, the reduced commissions.
Yeah.
When you do those referring clients, you get a $50 into your account. Instant gratification.
Yes.
But you're investing it in the market. So you can bring it in a lot of different ways and forms into the markets.
I love that.
Yeah, can I also just add that it's really about exposure in the household. I, for example, my parents didn't know what investing was. When they were investing, they were putting money in a 32-day account. And so and I know there's other families who are exposed to that, especially from a previously disadvantaged background. And I think it's up to us on this platform as parents to teach that to our children. So yes, I went to, in terms of education and exposure, and I was exposed to investments, but I didn't grow up in that environment. And so I think that's why that mind and concept around instant gratification exists, because most families didn't grow in a family where they could see the power of compounding returns.
That's right.
And so I think as if we expose our children, like Nicola is doing, to the power of compounding interest, where they can see that their money is growing, that if I put in 10 rands, it's going to be 1,000 rands in 10 years' time. Definitely that concept, because you are exposed to it and you are living it, is something that you're going to implement in your life. And I think that's what we need. And yes, it's not going to happen now from an education perspective, but what we are doing is planting a seed for the next generation, teaching the next generation the power of compounding returns.
And the responsibility we have as parents, because we tend to think financial education is the responsibility. Government is not doing. What are you doing?
It starts in the home.
In your home.
Yes,
what are you doing?
Yeah.
Anitta, I saw you.
No, I'm just thinking that one of the theme that keeps popping up for me is just we have the responsibility to be the voice that's trusted. You're most likely to take financial advice from Auntie Zodwa next door because you trust her. You've built a relationship with her. And if it's worked for her, then what are the odds that it won't work for you?
Yeah.
And so one of the things to think about, which is what we also try to think about at Digify, is how do we build trust so that when people see anything that's education related, I can trust it from them. And that's the task I think we also all have, is how do you build trust with the people that you're creating these products for, so that they know that if I want to invest sustainably and in a smart way, as a person who earns 3,000 Rand, I can go to Satrix, I can do it via EasyEquities, I can do it via the JSE. So really building that trust is important.
Ladies, as we come to a close, surprise, surprise, as we come to a close, I'd like to really land this conversation by asking each of you to tell me how it is in your organizations preparing for a digitally financial future. So how is it that you are enabling innovation? How is it that you are preparing for the user that wants to see the JSE here on their phone or their laptop or their iPad, and they want to get their announcements and they want to feel that the JSE is not out there somewhere on Maud Street, but it's here close to me. You know, as Satrix, as EasyEquities, how you're ensuring that you're meeting your customer of tomorrow where they are, not just in terms of infrastructure, but in terms of psychology as well. And of course, Digify Africa, you can land us with why it is that you are the organization of the future. I'll start this side with Karabo.
All right, so for the Consumer Education Department at the FSCA, our financial education plan is a very holistic one, in a sense that we do have a lot of emphasis on in-person engagement with our consumers if they don't have access to the digital tools that they need in order to access our content. But in addition to that, we do make sure that we are available on as many social media platforms as possible, so that our consumers can reach us, so that they are, able to get consumer education that is tailored for them. We do also have an SMME app that we have recently developed, where we are targeting youth who do have small businesses or are thinking of starting their own businesses, right? Where through gamified learning, they are able to learn the financial concepts that they need in order to start and grow their own businesses. So we do definitely work to make sure that we are reachable, and that's really important to us.
Adèle?
So very similar to what the FSCA has mentioned. So, our social media footprint, I think we're really building on that to make the JSE accessible. The language that we use also, again, make it accessible. We spoke about that earlier. Apart from that, our events like She Invests is another way of engaging with the JSE. Our 50-year plus investment challenge still going strong. I think we have over 50,000 entrants this year alone.
Yeah, you said.
And there's lots of prizes there attached to it. Social media, in addition to that, our podcast, again, another medium that I mentioned earlier on, how we engage. We've got a great YouTube channel as well, JSE YouTube channel, if you guys didn't know.
Subscribe.
Lots of content there with lots of educational stuff. Focusing, just as an example, we've got stock picks, which is if you want to focus on the trading side of things. So you have these independent analysts that then would analyze a particular stock, and then the viewer can make up their mind whether they actually want to invest in a particular stock. And that, again, using very colloquial or dumbed-down, accessible language as an example. So our investment forum that we also host, that allows then for the viewer to make up their minds around a particular company as well, whether they want to invest in a particular company. There we offer the opportunity of the company to actually provide information about what they are doing and why investors should look to them when investing. So there's so much that we're doing to provide information, education, but like I said, it's never enough, and we do need collaborative efforts if we want to make a huge impact.
Fikile, Satrix.
Okay, thank you. So I think Satrix is about democratizing investments, making sure that investments are accessible, making sure that our products are simple, that they are well diversified, and making sure that they are well understood by the client user. And I think if I look at how we engage with people on the ground is really by understanding them. So if I look at our platform, the average age for our investors has actually come down from about 47, and now we're sitting at around 38. So for the average age of the registered clients. So the client is getting younger and younger, and so that's why it's always important to find innovative and interesting ways to access them. And one of the things that we've done is in partnership with Digify Africa, we've created this education content. And also we work quite well with Money School, where we educate the youth around investing. We also work quite well with EasyEquities, where we do a lot of campaigns around accessing the end user. And also the Ghost Finance, where we do podcasts and we provide educational content. Our website, I mean, you can access our website. There's a lot of educational content there. And it's not only digitally, we do media as well through radio, and also I like one-on-ones. So I think that's where you actually get to see the actual impact. So making sure that we know when we can, we are out there to teach and provide education about our products and accessibility to the market.
Easy one for you.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, what do I talk about? So easy is, the only reason we exist is because we try to build something new that didn't exist, and we try to service a user base that wasn't serviced. And so for us, we are a digital business. We're online, we're everywhere on social media, but we do in-person engagement, so that's maybe something different that isn't as well known. We're at a lot of schools, universities. A lot of teachers like to use the EasyEquities app to teach the kids about markets and investing. There are some awesome teachers out there. And so for us, we always think about new collaborative ways. We always think about making it more engaging. Like I said, EasyEquities Academy is very important for us. New training courses, digital content, anything interesting and different that people don't have access to. Easy Does It is a podcast that we run, and DJ at Large is the host of that podcast. It's won multiple awards. So he does extremely well there, and bringing in various individuals that are not financial markets experts. So the one thing I do want to leave you with is, I think the reason why at Easy we've been able to do and service a market base which is very different to traditional financial markets and traditional investments is that the people we employ are also a little bit quirky. I think you've noticed from myself as well.
Yeah. You're one of the most fun CFAs I've met in a while.
It's very different people that work for us. In our marketing team, I'm trying to think, there's a professional singer, there's a social influencer, there's an editor. None of those people worked in financial markets or have investment degrees, but they get the user base, they get our clientele, and they do things differently and interesting. And so the one lady, the professional singer, just wrote a song the other day and she performed it about EasyEquities and about how markets have become easy. And it's gone viral. So it's about allowing creative freedom, because like you said, we like that Louis Vuitton bag, the nice things, but we also just like to engage in the real world with real people about real things. And so for us, that's the key magic.
Take us home, Anitta.
I mean, what more can I say? We are a digital organization in any case. I guess for us, the innovating towards the future is really just, where do I even begin? Thinking about how we can enhance our product with the birth of AI, that's coming in strong. How do we create more personalized learning, instead of just feeding people information? But how do we empower them to look for what they're wanting to look for and, have them trust us to provide them with the right guidance? How do we partner with the right organizations like we've done with Satrix to make sure that we are bringing in the right type of information when it's needed? Although we're not like a financial education instrument primarily, but our thing really is around, we're solving a problem. We're solving a problem, an educational problem. So it might change. We might move towards more zero-rated information. We might move off WhatsApp as a platform. We might move into something else. But the point that I'm trying to land is that as we continue to move into this unknown in terms of what education looks like, innovation and constantly changing is going to be part of what we do. We're going to have to continue to be agile. We're going to have to continue to be adaptable. And we're really excited about what's coming up.
Thank you so much, ladies. And from me, I would just like to say that as the world changes, the fundamentals remain the same. When it comes to money, spend less than you make. Find new ways of making more if you want to grow your means. And also, if it looks or sounds too good to be true, it probably is. You've been watching the Digital Financial Empowerment Roundtable brought to you by Digify Africa, Digify Africa powered by Satrix. My name is Samke Mhlongo. It's been an absolute pleasure being with you, and I hope to see you again soon. It is goodbye from us.